Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Chess Advance. This game was played in Jerusalem Masters, and that's from the finals. Arjun Erigaisi was able to beat Peter Swigler, and an absolute legend, 5 times world champion Vishy was able to beat actually Jan Nepomniachtchi in a spectacular battle, and now they are facing off against each other. And this is an all-Indian final. Whoever wins, it's going to be an Indian on the top. So let's see what this game entails, and let's see what Arjun starts with the white pieces. He chooses to go for d4. We have d5 by Vishy. Now just comes c4, e6, and just knight to c3. And here just knight to f6, knight to f3 was played, and here we have bishop e7. This is the three knights. This is queen's gambit decline, and here c captures, e captures, bishop to f4. Now just going for standard ideas, going for the trade. I mean, I've seen this a lot this year. Even in Fide West, a lot of these games were played. Even in World Cup, a lot of this exchange variation happened, and you have this kind of structure in this position. Mostly, you will see this kind of structure where black will go for a move like c6, and white will go for a move like e3, and you will have this weird kind of setup in the center where they will try to create some imbalance. A c6 was played, and now just comes e3, and that's what I was talking about. Bishop to f5, and now just comes this knight to h4, attacking that very nice bishop, and that bishop needs to move. Where do you move the bishop? If you don't want to lose it, maybe you can try to go for bishop to g4. And I don't want to, from the very beginning go for a move like that. Neither do I want to trade in this position, so just queen to c2. And if knight to h5 now, trying to attack this, also it comes with an attack towards the knight. You have to go for a move like a very nice move, which is this h3. And it works in this position. Bishop captures, h captures would actually come with an attack towards the bishop if you decide to capture the knight. Bishop to e6 now, but now just comes knight back to f3, knight caps on f4, and just going for this e captures. Seems like you've just shattered my pawn structure, but I can always castle queenside. And I know, it looks very scary. You're castling queenside, going towards an semi-open file, but it works sometimes, and you can just get the king to b1, a1, get the rooks doubled up towards the e file, start an attack, and your position would be really nice. I mean, your pawn is already on h3. You can push h4, g4 is somewhere along the line going to be an idea. You already have a double pawn, and you can utilize this to your advantage if you decide to go for g4. So you need to keep these ideas in mind. But just bishop to d6 in this position, and it would have been very nice after g3. Let's say g6, bishop to d3, and just knight to d7 in this position. You can also go for castles here. I mean, white can go for castles here in this position. Black can go for castles as well. The position is absolutely amazing. But after knight to h4, here bishop to g6 was paid, and this just allows a couple of trades. Knight captures, pawn captures, and just going for h3. You don't want this pawn file to be completely, taken over by the rook. Knight bd7, and here just bishop to d3. We have knight to b6, queen to c2, keeping the options open, casting towards the queen side or king side. Bishop to d6 now, and you can see already with the open edge file that you are most likely not going to castle king side. And here with this captures with the center opening up. Definitely, Arjun will try to capitalize on the center, where Vishy would most likely castle queenside and maybe try and going for an attack. But hey, queenside castle was paid, and now just comes this bishop caps on f4. We have e captures, and there was a chance for Vishy to go for the offense or go for a very nice line in this position, which started with castles. And yes, believe me, you H file for the rook is very nice, but getting your king safe is also very much important. And here after king to b1 prophylactic move, always useful. Now you go for knight to c4. And if f5 in this position, then you have to take. You don't want to allow me to shatter your position like that. So g captures and bishop captures. I'm only showing this line. This did not happen in the game, but I'm only showing it because you will be able to understand this position much better as to why the players chose the decision they did. A queen to d6, and then just comes h4. And now b5. What's scaring me in this position that white will have g4. And this is the thing. If you castle kingside, this is the problem. And now if rook f to e8, you make some breathing room for the king as well to try and escape. Then just comes even g5. And where do you try to move the knight in this position? You can try to go back, but I don't want to lose a pawn. So hey, b4 is a nice counter offense in this position. But g caps on f6, b caps on c3. Then just comes even bishop to h7 check. I don't want to capture this and just allow the king on the light square. So king, wherever it moves, g caps on f7 comes to the check. King captures, and here after this check, king goes back. And you can already see there is some trouble, and you don't want to face this position. Queen caps on c3. The game is absolutely amazing, and yeah, more so often than not, this is going to be very dangerous. And I can capture this actually. If king caps on c3 in this position, then just comes queen to f3, and my position is still good. So that just shows you enough about this position, that how powerful it is. Even I can hang a complete piece and still my position very powerful, because ideas like this are in the air and you don't want to get checkmated, believe me. But I mean, there's a lot more things that can happen in this position, so you need to be careful. Most likely here in this position, queen to e6 is an idea, and after this queen to h5 check, you can block with the queen. But there are just so many things in this position. I can also go for this queen caps on f7, and this is a very nice attacking game already. But all of this, obviously, they avoided. Here after e caps on f4, queen to d6 was played by Vishy, just rook d to e1 check. And that's what I was saying, because now you lose the chance of castling. Either you go here or you go here. Vishisar decides to go for king to f8. He wants to win this game because he wants to occupy this h5 and completely start an attack. And let's see what happens here. G3 was played. Not bothered about it at all here. Arjun, rook to e8, and now just comes this rook to e5. That rook lift is a spectacular move. I mean, you cannot even capture this because the structure would be really nice, and you will also lose a piece in this position. That's absolutely amazing. Knight f d7 was played, pushing the rook back, but just rook captures, king captures, and just h4. Amazing structure, and most likely this is also coming. Queen can get in the party. This is a very nice position for Arjun, and Vishal is going to have to be really careful. King to d8 was played, but now just comes queen to d2, and here comes in this position. I think you can try to start an attack with queen to b4. I think right now is the perfect time. You want to get the queen activated, and this is one such line where Vishal should have gone for this, because here after bishop to e2, now you just go for knight to c8. Knight to c8 with the idea that you can always occupy the c5 square, but if you do, then just bishop captures and pawn captures, and your king is on the same line. So ideas like this will be in the air as well. So you need to be careful, such like that, to not allow such trades. And if a3 in this position, pushing the queen back, queen goes back to e7, bishop to d3 again, rook to e8, and you're completely occupying the e file. I cannot bring the rook in this position. And if knight to a4, trying to occupy this, I will try to occupy this, because knight now I cannot, because just knight captures, pawn captures, queen captures would come with a check towards my king. So need to be careful. King to c7, then just comes this king to b1, prophylactic move, useful. Knight b to d6, knight captures, and although you can go for king caps as well, I would really hesitate to bring the king towards b6. But hey, just a caps on b6 is absolutely fine as well. It although ruins your pawn structure a little bit as well, but it's absolutely fine. h5. The game goes on. Both players have roughly equal chances. Vishy Sir being a little bit better, and I think this was the way to go. But after queen to d, knight to f8 was played, trying to just remaneuver the knight to better squares, and here in this position just f5. And f5 is a very amazing, shows how much Arjun has actually the positional understanding in this position. He knows the structure is very nice. He knows black cannot break through. If you allow me to go for something like that, then the pawn structure gets very weird. And if the endgame occurs, trading everything in this position, just look at this position and imagine that these pieces don't exist. You have just the bishop and the rook, and black has the knight and the rook. And you look at this structure, three against the double pawns, it's going to be a completely winning endgame. And this is what Arjun is actually banking on. Here just g caps on f5. Now just comes this queen to g5 check, queen to f6 blocking, and here we have queen captures, g captures. So we are actually getting the endgame, and this is a really, really bad pawn structure. Believe me, this structure is so bad that if you're not able to like get some trades early on here in this position with that, or you want that pawn to be here in this position. Otherwise, this is going to be a really bad structure, and you might just lose the endgame. Bishop caps on f5 was played. Now just losing one pawn, and slowly you're going to lose those as well. Knight to c4, but now just comes this knight to e2. Knight to d6 was played, attacking the bishop. Bishop goes back to d3, and we have f5. But in this position, there was a very nice move in this position that you could have tried to go for, and it would give you a very nice advantage positionally as well. And that move is f3. And f3 is a very nice try in this position, because knight to e6, then you just go for king to d2, and slowly you're improving the position of your king. If f4 is the move that I would be very worried about, because g4 is looks very nice, but you have this knight to g4 tactic, because you cannot capture this because the rook would be hanging, and you don't have a way to be able to defend this pawn. And that's a really big issue, because if you go there, then you lose the h pawn, and everything you're banking on the h pawn, because the g pawn, it can be stopped with that double pawn. So I don't want that to happen. So here just h5, but just knight captures, you're going to have to give up the base of the pawn chain, and you have created a pass pawn. King to e7, then just comes rook to f1, knight to g5, and I can capture this with knight caps on f4. But still, I mean, my position is looking very nice. But after f5, king to d2 was played, but now just comes this knight to e6. We have f3 finally going for the same ideas. King to e7 and king to e3, but now just comes king to f6. Knight to f4 now asking for more trades. Rook to e8 was played in this position, but rook to e8 is not the best move. Here, Vishy Sir was supposed to go for this knight to c4 check. And this was the idea. Most likely bishop captures and d captures would have been played. After this knight captures, you can fix the pawn structure with f captures, but that would give your opponent a little bit of an advantage, because then just g4, and after, let's say, anything in this position, rook to d8, you try to just put some pressure so that the king cannot move. h5 you can go for. There's a lot more moves in this position. You can also go for rook to e1. Even g5 is an idea in this position. I mean, king to g6. I mean, how are you trying to survive in this position? It's just very difficult because even ideas like f4 are in the air. You can also go and push that pawn. You need to be a little bit careful, and that structure is looking, it's really really terrifying because you have two connected passes now, and it's gonna get very messy. But after this knight to f4, just rook to e8 was played, and rook to e8 completely blunders the game. But I'm gonna ask you to pause the video, try and find out what move wins in this position, and you will be able to have a better position against an absolute legend like Vishy Sir. So have at it. Congratulations to everyone who's able to find the right idea. Move is knight captures on f6, and yeah, now it's a very troublesome thing here. F captures was played, and you do get the structure, but it's a bit too late because g4, as I showed you in that line. That's why it was very important to show you that line first. And now e5 was played, but e5 does not work in this position because just g5 check, and that's what I was telling you about. Here in this position, king to g6 was played by Vishy. So you could have also gone for king to g7, but it doesn't work because here after d caps on e5, rook captures with a check, king to f4. I'm occupying the f4 square, and you don't have any checks in this position. Rook to e8, then just comes h5. If c5, you try to push your own pass pawn to create some counterplay. H6 check. King cannot go here because just, somewhere along the line, that's going to be an option as well. Also, the pass pawn is pushing. King to g8, then just comes this g6. If c4, bishop caps on f5. If rook to f8, trying to utilize the pinned piece, then just comes this. Everything is defended. Those passes are almost about promotion, and this is completely over. But after g5, king to g6 was played by Vishy, so that's why d caps on c5. Rook captures and king to f4, but hate rook to e8. But now just comes h5 check. King to g7, h6 check, king to g6, and h7. But after king to g7, just g6 was played. What a beautiful positional understanding. Here in this position, you cannot even go for captures because it's h8 queen. So here now, and all of these moves were blitzed out by Arjun Erigaisi because the thing is that they are both very much down on the clock and they are playing just on increment. Here's c5, and now just comes king to g5, c4, just bishop caps on f5, and now finally d4 was tried by Vishy Sir, but just comes this bishop to d7, rook to d8, and just h8 queen. What a beautiful move, because he understands that if rook captures here, then after this rook captures, king captures, you have to go for this king to h6, and it's going to be completely winning, and this is exactly what he played. And now in this position, Vishy Sir resigned the game, and it's absolutely amazing because a few days ago, Vishy Sir was making the ceremonial move with Arjun Erigaisi and VE, and that was absolutely spectacular to watch. And from that ceremonial move, now they are here in Jerusalem in finals, battling it out and playing this spectacular game and showing the positional understanding both of these players. It's absolutely amazing. And as much as Vishy Sir would be not very well happy with the loss, I think he would be very much proud at Arjun as well. That because these are the kids that he has, and them playing such spectacular chess even against him would be making him very very proud. But yeah, that was a phenomenal game by both of these players. It's absolutely amazing to watch both of them in action. I mean, it's just amazing. Arjun Erigaisi, I'm seeing him from a long time, but watching Vishy Sir is just really what makes me excited because he plays such spectacular games at this age. Even just playing this phenomenal chess that you can completely play at a level of these young prodigies who are studying like 14, 15 hours a day. It just shows how amazing this legend absolutely is. And yeah, no such words can say enough about him. He is an absolutely amazing. But kudos to Arjun for getting the win. And let's see when they will face each other again, and let's see what will happen the next time they face each other. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll be coming back with some of these amazing games, so stay tuned to the channel, stay updated, and I'll be seeing you guys very, very soon. Thank you very much for watching.